Felecia Hensley. She has a strong taste for life's opportunities and life's diversities. She, after college, she had a taste for working in business, and so she did that for 20 years. And then she had a taste for working in the church, and so she did that for several years. And mostly she was working with youth at that time, and that led to her attending seminary and becoming ordained an elder in the United Methodist Church in Oklahoma. And of course, after that, she was served in many churches. She also has had a taste in life for doing sewing and quilting. But more recently, after her retirement, she has been interested in artistic world, in creating. And so that includes painting and acrylic painting and using pencils too, and drawing. And actually she's made some lovely cards that she sends out for birthdays. And she says, you know, if I'm going to do them, I might as well give them out for birthday cards. And of course that's true. So anyway, I think we'll be getting some samples of her work. She's the mother of Elizabeth and Alex. She's the wife of Pat, and Felecia and Pat have been recent residents of Epworth Villa, but have become very, very active. So let's get acquainted with Felecia. So Felecia, Grandpa was a sharecropper. Consequently, your dad, when he was growing up, attended 30 different, maybe elementary, but 30 different schools as a youngster. However, you were able to grow up in one place. Where was that?
Shawnee.
Okay. So you went to school and
yeah, I went all through grade school to high school, and then I actually went to OBU because it was close.
It was close by. Okay, so you didn't have siblings, but you had a cousin that you were very close to and grew up with. Is that correct?
Right. She and I were both only children, and both of our mothers worked. And so our grandmother kept us all day, every day, so we were together all the time, just like any other siblings.
Okay. So you mentioned that you attended college at OBU. You had some strong feelings about women and their degrees, and so what did you end up getting your degree in?
I got my degree in English literature because I like to read. So
yeah.
I like the books, so it was easy work.
Okay. So you had some strong feelings about some things that you thought women had the only options to go into. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I just really have always, since I was junior high or earlier, resented the assumption that women could only be teachers or secretaries or housewives. My dad worked at Tinker for a while, and when he did, he would complain about these women going to work and taking jobs away from men that need to feed their families, and it just really annoyed me badly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's changed quite a bit from that time, but there are still some issues that we do have. Well, you were very involved in ERA. Would you explain that?
Sure.
What is ERA?
The Equal Rights Amendment, and about the time I went to work at Tinker, I couldn't give you a date, but it was a long time ago. About that time, we were trying to get that constitutional amendment passed. And so I got involved. I made phone calls to people. I wrote letters. I wore my ERA sticker to work. And I caught guff from the men out there all the time. You can't wear that here. And I go, yes, I can. We're obligated by the Hatch Act. I cannot endorse a candidate. I can't wear a military uniform and endorse the ERA, but I can support an issue and not a person. And that's the rules. And then they're all going to have to walk off.
Right. So, and how long, how many years or months that you were real active in that? What?
As long as it survived.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, I was talking to my daughter last night, and we were reminiscing about going to the Women's March on the day after Trump was inaugurated. It was a nationwide rally.
And you went, and you were there?
We went to the Oklahoma City one, yes.
Okay, all right. When you were 20, you got married, but it's kind of interesting how you met your spouse, and it was through some religious...
Well, his brother was a self-taught evangelist, no credentials, no training, no seminary, but he decided that that's what he wanted to be, and he was trying to support himself and his family by doing home Bible studies all around. Yeah, and so it was a friend of mine, an older friend of mine from church, and I went to the one at her house, and Pat was there with his brother, helping the music, and we just, we got to know each other, and we just kind of fit.
So it was kind of an interest right on the first meeting.
Yes.
Anyway, he asked you for a date afterwards, I assume, so.
A while after that, because I was seeing someone else at the time. And so, but when Tony and I broke up, Pat, actually, we were just friends, and he wanted to come over. I had gotten a bookshelf that I needed to put together, and he said, I'll come over and do that. And so that was our first date, putting together the bookshelf. And, we just kind of kept hanging out together. And
well, and you're still friends, I assume.
very much so.
Your early career was at Tinker also. And what were you doing there?
I was a computer programmer back in the old pre-2000 COBOL days, if that tells you how long ago it was. And so I programmed tracking engine parts for engines that needed, and that when and where they needed to be taken out for maintenance, and when that was done, and because if they don't get the proper maintenance, they're not allowed to fly.
Though you didn't become a teacher, your strong interests are in education. Explain that.
I believe people need to get education. I don't believe, I think people who are not, really super smart, for worse of a better term, but really gifted that way, that's just genetics. You are or you aren't. But to be ignorant is, for me, almost a sin. I mean, there's no excuse for choosing to be ignorant.
Okay. But you equate that with a choice.
That's a choice.
Yeah.
And some people are gifted in there's all kinds of intelligence. There's all kinds, art, music, academic stuff, there's all those kinds of all kinds of intelligences, but
skills.
It's what we are, and we accept people for what they are.
So when your family moved to Edmond, you attended First United Methodist Church, and you and Pat were really very active. So kind of speak to that time. That was after you'd worked at Tinker for about 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Brian, you left Tinker because
actually before my kids, we kind of off and on, but we really weren't involved until we had kids.
Okay.
And then when my daughter got old enough, she was 3 before we actually went and had her and she was baptized. But I began to realize she didn't know the Bible stories or the things that I would expect my kids to know.
Mm-hmm.
But so we started going more regularly, and then got involved in, at one point I taught the 4th grade Sunday school class, which was a real experience. And then as she and Alex got into old enough to be in the youth group, hit 6th grade, then I volunteered to be a youth director.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the youth director moved on to another job, I applied and became the youth minister there for, I think last time I checked, I had 8 or 10 years of youth volunteer director time under my belt. So.
Well, it was, you know, a kind of a special time, a different time as a parent that you spent with your children too,
Yeah.
as far as educating them a little bit into.
I'm not sure they were thrilled to have their mom as the youth
Oh, you
director.
you never discussed that though, is that right? Or you could just tell.
Yeah, I mean, you know, your mom is the youth director. You can't do anything without her. What you did, yeah.
So I should have said, "Wow, your mom is the youth director."
That's not what her friends said.
Anyway, then what stimulated you to go on into the ministry, attend seminary and go in the ministry?
I just felt a call at some point, and my thinking was, I'm getting too old to keep up with the kids.
Mm.
You know, once I hit 40, I was like, I can't do a lock-in for sure, ever again. And going to camp is a bit of a strain. And I said, it is time for me to start talking to adults instead of kids and having to deal with, oh, he doesn't like me. And I'm like, I don't really care.
Okay, so you were ordained, well, you were 50 when
50.
you were ordained?
Yes.
Okay. And so what churches did you serve?
Okay, this is where I have to look at my notes because I always forget one, and that's really mean. I started out at Cashin and then went to Sentinel, which is way, way, way far southwest, way down in the bottom corner. Everybody knows Rocky, which is about the size of a postage stamp, but it's just by Rocky.
Oh, Rocky is a town?
It's
sort
a
of?
town, yeah.
Okay,
And then we went from there to Anadarko, and then from there to Minco. So
okay. All right. Well, so thinking about the churches that you served, what were some of the best times, or what stands out as special for you as a minister?
well, I always liked the people in my churches, mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
But being a second career pastor and older and a woman, I tended to get churches that sometimes had been a bit troublesome.
Okay.
But that was okay. I was good with that. I was frequently more often than not, I was the only female pastor who had ever been in town, and certainly not there. And so there was, trying to work with the ministerial alliances, but we would have Thanksgiving service, and the Baptist, we'd all take turns, but it was my turn. If it was in the Baptist church, they would have all kinds of heartburn about whether or not I could actually preach, and I'm like, you gotta work this out, dudes. So, I wouldn't say they had to change, but we might change locations that year or swap around or something. But that comes with the territory. So.
Well, that's still then, because that's not very far in the past, so that's still an issue with churches today?
Oh, yeah.
You think in all denominations?
Well, I know the Baptists have a heartburn with it.
Okay.
The Baptist General Convention just booted out a church out of their convention this year because the pastor there had allowed a woman to teach a Sunday school with adult males in it.
Oh, I see. Well, that is, I would consider that pretty serious as well. So, let's talk about Casper.
Oh, okay.
Who is it?
He's my dog.
Whoa.
He's about yay big, and he weighs 8 pounds. He's a Chinese crested, which is, if you don't know
I don't know what that.
There are typically hairless, except for really long hair on their head, on their ears, on their boots, and on their tail, and everything else is hairless. However, a recessive trait is that 1 out of 4 will actually have hair. And so he was one of the 4. Sometimes they're called hairy hairless, but it's not fur, it's hair. So I have to put him in he has his whole wardrobe of sweaters, and he has a wardrobe of Hawaiian shirts if he's going to be out in the sunlight for very long.
Okay.
Because he will sunburn, and it's bad enough dealing with a cranky human with a sunburn. I'm not dealing with a dog with a sunburn. It's just not.
Well, I think you would really know what was wrong with him. I mean, you could probably. How long has Casper been with you?
He's been with us 3 years.
Okay.
He was a stray for the first 7 or 8 years of his life. Some neighborhood in Guthrie had adopted him, and everybody in the whole neighborhood, if he, they just fed him and gave him places to sleep, and the kids would play with him and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's what he did. But then as he got older, his teeth got bad, which is common for crested, and he was going to have them all pulled. And that was going to be too big an expense for the neighborhood to just chip in and pay for. So they gathered him up and they took him to a rescue society, which would pay for that. And so they had all his teeth taken out and they put him up for adoption, and we found him on the internet. So,
well, and you said he's a very loving.
He's very
creature.
loving. Cresteds are known for being what is often called Velcro dogs. They're just always on top of you. They're always in your lap. They always want to appear. It's not unusual for Powder or one to be sitting in the recliners, and one of us he'll be laying right here.
Okay. We pretty much have always had dogs.
We got our first dog shortly after we got married, and it was an Afghan hound, a black Afghan hound, and then she had a white puppy. So we had a black one and a white one, and we showed them for a little bit, which trying to get an Afghan hound ready for a show ring is a huge task. And so then we kind of went down, and we always wanted to have 2 dogs around because we had to be gone a lot. And so they had someone to be with. And so we had those 2, and then when Jenny passed, we had a collie-ish thing that would belong to my son, and then we had a schnauzer and a mini schnauzer. And so we've always tried to keep 2. But I have noticed that we started out with really big dogs, and the older we got, the smaller the dogs got.
You say you have spent most of your life with words, and certainly as a preacher, you've done that. And my understanding is that you were a very good preacher, and you said, well, you were a storyteller.
Yeah, that's
so you used different resources for your sermons. That I guess there is a liturgy in the Methodist Church for preachers that helps you with that, but also because you like to read books so much.
Yeah. Yes. I majored. I was in English literature.
Oh, that's right.
Just because I like to read all the books. So.
Yeah. And now you want to explore your creativity, your artistic creativity, is what you said. So I mentioned a little bit in the introduction about what kind of art things you're in. Maybe you can explain that a little more.
Yeah, I've always had a creative bent. I've been craftsy and always doing something. And that's kind of, my grandmother was that way, my aunt was that way. My mom wouldn't know a craft that it hit her in the face, but that's just because she didn't have the talent for it or interest. And that was, that's the way my family was. And so learned to crochet a little bit from my grandmother. But as an adult, early on, I used to do all kinds of paper crafts, which is making cards and creating things with that. I did that. I did I've been lost track of how many different kinds of crafts I've done at different times. But since I came out here, I've just, my craft room is still not set up, even though we've been here close to a year.
Well, you have
Or
a
6 months.
craft room though, don't you?
I do have a room. We have a 2-bedroom apartment, and one room is our bedroom, and one room is my crafts, my sewing, my junk. And so,
And you're saying, and you got a sign that says, "Don't mess with it," huh?
oh, Pat wouldn't even dare to try. He's afraid of it. I think he's afraid to go in there unless he has to. So.
Well, so this is, this is something that has, well, and we're going to be showing some of the things that you are interested in now. So what brought you to Epworth?
Well, all of my parents and Pat's parents and grandparents and everybody all died in their 70s. We do not have a long-lived DNA. I mean, it's just not in our genes. And I had talked to my doctor one time about what should we eat certain things, or what kind. And she was real honest. She says, you need to eat healthy and stuff, but the fact of the matter is, what really determines your lifespan is going to be your genetics. If your parents and grandparents and great grandparents live to be 90, you'll live to be 90. But my parents, Pat's parents, all died in their 70s, and our grandparents. And so we were really aware that we couldn't take time together as a for granted thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a 3-bedroom house, and our kids had gone, and we didn't have close friends because we'd been moving around so much. And we talked about the last thing either of us wanted was to one of us pass and the other be left banging around in that house by themselves. Just couldn't stand the thought of that happening. So we decided that maybe we should just go ahead and move. And the other factor was both of my parents developed dementia pretty severely. My dad died before it could get bad from bile duct cancer. But my mom, when he died, she could not function. She couldn't stay by herself. She could drive, but she would always get lost, and someone would have to come rescue her and bring her home. She wouldn't go to the store. She wouldn't go out. She couldn't do anything because first she had never had to, but second of all, she really couldn't function mentally to make that work. And so we went through a real difficult time with her because she just absolutely refused to even think about ever moving. And
So you really came at a good time for yourself.
yeah, so because we had to go through a lot of hoops, and ended up had all kinds of family controversy because my aunts and stuff would always yelling that I wasn't taking care of my mom, but I was doing, after talking to DHS and stuff, you can't legally do anything, take to anyone as long as they're lucid enough to say no. And they say, if you take her to an emergency room and she says, I don't want to be here, they'll let her go. They have to. So you have to wait until she's so far out of it that she doesn't know where she is. And so we had to wait and wait and wait until she hit that point where she really didn't know. We took her to St. Anthony's, and then they put her in the geriatric unit for evaluation. And from there, it was just okay, we're going from there, and we're going to this assisted living center we found.
But see, you have moved here soon enough, you can enjoy the benefits, because we do have all kinds of things for you to use your creativity, and including in our room where a lot of people meet and get ideas. It's just fun, and the community and eating with other people is just a joy. So it's nice to do that while you're still able
Well, the other thing was, it was so traumatizing to my kids because my daughter was 14,
Okay.
Alex was about 10. We would go visit my mom, and outside of all my other family drama, which we don't need to go into, my mother didn't recognize me. She thought Elizabeth, my daughter, was me. She had no idea who the little boy was, and she thought Pat was her boyfriend. And so, but, you know, we went with it, but Elizabeth saw all that, and she remembered all that, and she had been living just in fear that Pat and I something would happen to us, and we would have to, she would be the one to make the decision. So we knew she was worried about it, not quite how worried she was, but so when we told her that we decided to move, she cried, just out of sheer relief that she would not be forced to make something happen that we didn't want to happen. And
Well, that was a good thing, and it's a pleasure that you and Pat have moved here. Before we end, I want to talk to you about, now, you made this gorgeous shawl, is it a shawl?
Mm-hmm.
And that was in our art show,
Yes.
and certainly something that everybody commented on its beauty. So I'm hoping we get a picture of that for our audience. And what was that? What did you make that for?
It was for my daughter's wedding. She had an off-the-shoulder gown, gorgeous, and so I made this shawl. It's circular, 6 feet in diameter, and to wear it, you fold it in half and then pull it around you. It took me a year to knit because I had to make it with lightweight lace thread, half silk, mostly silk.
But you have it, she doesn't.
No, she has it.
Oh,
but
she
she
has
loaned
it.
it to me for the
Oh, I see, for the art show.
for the art show.
Okay, all right. Does she ever wear it for anything?
Are you kidding? She's afraid to touch it.
And that just seems a shame to be.
Well, it's hard
Maybe
to
she
do
should
it.
hang it in the front window or something. Like
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for her.
No, it wouldn't be good. Okay.
And the other thing is because it's of the silk that it's made out of, you have to lay it out and block it and to dry, and so it takes several days. And I had to lay it on our king size bed to get it blocked out enough to dry. So it would be a really pain to wear.
Well, I'm sure studio audience are going to be able to see that.
Yes.
So, okay, well, Felecia, I always enjoy having a conversation with you, and so, and which we've had a few, and I'm looking forward to many more. Your story has been extremely interesting, and I just hope your creative abilities keep bringing you joy.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking me. I appreciate that.